Welcome to the Haven Collective. I'm J.R. Foresteros, and this is the Beacon Bit. Today we're talking about the construction of the Tabernacle in Exodus 39 and 40. I love doing puzzles. My favorite are these big 1,000-piece puzzles from the Magic Puzzle Company that have a secret ending and all kinds of stuff. A lot of you have seen them when I've had them out working on them, but they're great. Anyway, one of my favorite parts of the puzzle is, of course, putting in that last piece. It's so incredibly satisfying to see this whole puzzle spread out before you, have that one piece left, and put it in and see the entire thing done. But there's something really profound I've noticed about doing puzzles, and I hope you're ready for this because I'm about to blow your minds. The last piece that you put in is never the first piece of the puzzle. I know, incredible, right? That the last piece is never the first piece. It's so dumb to say that. Of course that's true, right? And yet I think about how often we want to skip to the end of something, right? We want to bypass all of the hard work, all of the challenges, all of that, and just have something done and get the satisfaction and the reward of that last piece feeling without all of the work and the anxiety and the sweat and the tears of putting the other 999 pieces together. I think about that when I think about the tabernacle, because as we've seen in this series, Israel had this deep desire for God's presence among them, such that when they got stressed, when they got anxious, when they got afraid, their first impulse was to build a statue that would help them feel the presence of God. And that was the wrong thing to do. But the impulse, I think, was something we can recognize and acknowledge. Yeah, they fell back on these old patterns of thinking of how do we feel the presence of God? Quick, let's build a God statue, right? And so that's what they did, and they got in trouble for it and all of that, right? But again, we've already talked about that. That was in week 2. What I want to focus on today is the impulse, the desire. Hey, things are not going great. We are scared. We are anxious. We're not sure what the future holds. What it would really be nice to do would be experience the presence of God. That's, I think, a deeply ingrained human reaction. That's why after 9/11, churches were full. That's why in times of crisis, people often return to church or things like that, right? Because when life is going poorly, we want to reach out and hold on to someone or something, and often that someone or something is a higher power, God. The Israelites had that same desire. But of course, that wasn't what God wanted them to do. God was trying to help them understand that what they were being invited into was something bigger and wider and scarier than what they had known. It was this new way of being religious. It was this new way of connecting in the world. And that required them to have faith. Okay, now, all of that is so much easier said than done. And I'm willing to bet that, like me, throughout this series, you've experienced some frustration at the reality that change cannot just happen. And that's where I think the tabernacle is so fascinating. Because ultimately, the tabernacle is this radical invention for a way for them to continually experience God's presence. Think of the tabernacle something like a portable airlock, because the realm of heaven where God exists and the realm of earth where people exist are parallel realities. And they don't often touch each other. In fact, in the Hebrew imagination and in the imagination of much of the ancient Near East, there were some places in our world that were thin, where the realities were closer to touching than others. Mountaintops were often these places, which is why you saw a lot of cool stuff happen on the top of the mountain, like Moses getting the 10 Commandments, or take, for instance, Mount Olympus from the Greeks, something like that, right? There were these thin places where reality was a little more permeable and where humans had access to the gods. And of course, that was dangerous because the gods are holy and humans are not. And I think of holiness sort of like radiation, right? It's very powerful. And if you're not careful around it, it will kill you. We have stories of that happening in scripture where people did not take the appropriate precautions to interact with a holy object or a holy space. They're killed. Not because God is like a weird, petty, protective kid telling us to stay out of their room, but because, again, holiness is like a radiation. It's dangerous, right? And so the tabernacle actually is this sort of portable airlock that lets God enter into human space and lets humans enter into holy space and actually connect. It was this religious technology that was brand new for the day. And what I love about the tabernacle is you read it through these chapters and it is elaborate and it is extensive and it is detailed, and you get the sense that it was really beautiful. The Hebrews, when they built this thing, they went all out. They took all of that frustration and all of that anxiety and all of that fear and they channeled it into this beautiful, artistic, to be clear, tent. Okay? It was a tent that they could put up and take down and carry around with them, right? I don't know how many of you are campers, but like typically tents are like bare minimum aesthetics to like not be terribly ugly, right? They are not like gorgeous architectural wonders the way the tabernacle is. And yet that's what the Hebrews did, because of course they wanted to do that because this was the place where they were going to interact with God. And then the book of Exodus ends. It is literally the whole point of the book, where these people started in slavery with no hope and no future and no God. And it ends with them setting up this tent, this beautiful tent among them, and then God's presence literally comes down from the mountaintop and descends and takes place and inhabits the space over the Ark of the Covenant in the holiest part of the tabernacle. And now God is living among God's people. And it is this beautiful, powerful moment where everything comes together. And human history has taken a massive step forward. And the people now have this completely new way to know God. And nothing will ever be the same again. And I wonder what it would look like for us as we are in these processes of change that we've been talking about throughout this series, to take our frustration and our fears and our anxiety and channel them into creating beauty. Creating beauty that reflects how we want the world to be, that reflects that prayer that Jesus taught us to pray, your kingdom come and your will be done here on earth the same way it is in heaven. What would happen in our community? What would happen in our spirits? What would happen in our world if we did that? That's what I want to talk about on Sunday with you. I look forward to that conversation. Until then, grace and peace be with you.